What is up, YouTube? You are listening to Behind the Wall, presented by Perky Jerky. As always, I am Kane Jr. 88, and this week it is just Middleburg 1 joining me. Thermite couldn't be here this week because he was busy shucking corn at his family reunion down in southern Illinois, so he is not with us tonight, but like I said, we have Junior Nation 5788, and he and I are going to discuss Watkins Glen, the I Love New York 355. Well, I don't know if we can say we loved it this week. It was pretty bland. It was easily predictable. It was like watching an F1 race. Hell, we even had Lee Diffie calling it too, so it was pretty much like an F1 race, wouldn't you say?
Yes, that's for sure. I was actually going to make the joke about not loving New York either because it really was not a ton to love from this event. I don't believe so. So let's get right into just a simple race recap. And Kyle Busch started on the pole, and the very first stage went as followed. They raced around the racetrack, and Kyle Busch won stage one. It was insanely uneventful. And it was just like, if we were just giving ratings per stage, that stage would have got a 0, but we're not going to go there. Stage 2, start off, Dale Earnhardt Jr. Oh my God. We'll save that for the award, but that's one of the few things that happened, which they conveniently didn't want to cover for about 15 minutes on TV. So great coverage there, NBCSN. Other than that, there was some strategy shuffling, and the stage end was actually kind of interesting with Martin Truex Jr. right on the back of Daniel Suarez, the surprise winner of the stage, but due to strategy, that's why he was up there. And then the very last stage was just things kind of falling into place. There wasn't... I mean, there was strategy going on, sure, but your predictable players, for the most part, were up there. Kyle Busch kind of filtered himself out with a couple of issues. He was in the back with a lug nut problem in stage 2, and as well as being spun out. So he kind of was out of the main running for the win. But, Martin Truex Jr., who was the other dominant car on the day, was up there and kind of held in control. But there was kind of a fuel mileage game in a way. But most of the people that were up there made it. They just all backed down their pace, and that was pretty much it. Martin Truex Jr. comes home as the winner of Watkins Glen. And race ratings, I'll go ahead and get mine out of the way. I give it a 4, and that's really only because of like the end of stage 2, and then like there was a little bit of tension at the end of the race. You didn't quite know who was going to make it, but I kind of just felt like with 10 to go, I'm like, man, Truex is going to pull this out of his ass. Even when he let Ryan Blaney go by, and Ryan Blaney was up there and he ran out of gas with 3 to go, I'm just like, there's no way. There's no way that Truex isn't going to win this thing. It just wasn't it really wasn't that damn exciting. There wasn't a ton of on-track passing. It was predictable, as Kane's already said. Yeah, I mean, good for Truex. I'm not ever going to be pissed off about Martin Truex Jr. winning a race, but still, let's just be real. It was predictable, not that great. Kane, what was your base rating?
Yeah, I'm gonna be a little more blunt. I'm gonna give this one a 3.5. What else is there to say? We pretty much covered it all in the discussion. It was predictable. It was like watching an F1 race, and I'm happy for Truex, especially with I think I'm more happy for Cole Pern because apparently he lost his best friend earlier in the day, so this is a great way to honor that, and it's a great way to get your mind off of things is by going to victory lane and celebrating. So that's like about the only good thing about it. Otherwise, it was pretty dull and boring. I mean, the same people were up front all day, and I really don't have much else to say.
That's perfectly fine. So now let's head into our discussion topics for the week, and our first topic at hand was some very good news that we had earlier in the week, and that was that NASCAR has finally decided to get rid of the overtime line. The goddamn overtime line! Damn overtime line! God damn overtime line! But guess what? We don't have to say that anymore because it doesn't exist! It's basically back to what green-white checkers used to be. But they tweaked it. And now the essential overtime line, which let's not call it that, okay? It's the start-finish line. But now It's unlimited attempts. It's essentially like an old green-white checkered, except this time it can happen as many times as need be, as long as the leader does not cross the start-finish line. And that's a better version of the old green-white checkered of 3 attempts, and I was perfectly fine with that before they got rid of it. But now they did something good. I couldn't be happier about this. I really can't be.
I have to agree with you on that. The overtime line, I think a lot of drivers, including Dale Jr., who he recommended it in like the drivers' council, he admitted it was a bad idea, and he and a lot of other drivers are happy to see it go away. Obviously, it's going to work great at most tracks, but again, there's the only problem I see with this is Daytona and Talladega. Of the unlimited attempts, is just going to lead to more wrecked cars, and pretty sure a lot of teams would much rather not have to bring home more wrecked cars, because NASCAR had to, give unlimited attempts at a green flag finish. But overall, if you're a fan, it's a good thing. It's a really great move, and I applaud NASCAR for doing it.
Yeah, I think that's the reason why they did it. I don't think they were really thinking of the teams. They were thinking more of what the fans wanted. I mean, there's been a lot of fan bitching. Obviously, all 3 of us have done it. We hated the overtime line, and as well as the majority of the fan base. Hell, I'm almost inclined to say that everyone hated it. It was not a good decision, and I knew it was going to fail right from the very beginning. It was just stupid. Again, this cliche, classic phrase, over time, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And they should have never touched the green-white checkered. And it's disappointing that it took them a year and a half over to change this rule that clearly was not working, that clearly pissed people off. Teams and fans alike were all disappointed by this overtime rule, but it should have never taken this long to fix it. But thankfully, it is. And I think that this will improve a lot of finishes. Sure, the Daytona Talladega thing, it's always a possibility of more cautions and more wrecks. But I think that really can happen anywhere. Chaos can strike. I mean, there are so many different places that have the potential to have several different cautions. It's just basically up to the field whether people in the back that are running 20th decide they want to go to try to win the damn race and cause a fucking crash. I remember there was a race in Martinsville in 2010, the spring race, that actually used all 3 attempts of the green-white checkered, and it just because people were going nuts. And some races are like that and some aren't. Some won't even need this unless there's a late race caution. So it just was a small rules change that had a big effect on some outcomes of the ending of races, and it's now resolved. So I'm happy about it.
Absolutely. I'm extremely happy to see this.
Our next topic is another rules change in NASCAR making for the 2018 season, and that is the number of races Cup drivers are allowed to run in the Xfinity and Truck Series is actually being reduced just a little bit more, not a huge number. I believe it is going from 10 to 7 in the Xfinity Series. Kane, do you know what the number is for the Truck Series?
Yes, it is 5 races in trucks, and that is just for... And this is, now keep in mind, these are also just for Cup drivers who have 5 or more years of experience. But like younger guys like Daniel Suarez, Eric Jones, Ty Dillon, they will still be allowed to run as many Xfinity races as they want, but they cannot run Dash for Cash races or the playoff races. So that they're also been reduced as well.
I think that's a good thing because, some of these guys, they don't need to be running in these damn races. I understand, like, the Suarez and all these guys that only have a couple years of experience. Hell, I'll even throw in Chase Elliott, even though I don't believe he's running a single race this season in the Xfinity Series, and who knows what he'll have for next year. Some people need seat time at certain places. It's okay. And not to mention, if you don't even have a damn Cup win, like, I never have an issue with a guy who doesn't have a Cup win running in the Xfinity Series. Until you've established yourself as a proven Cup winner, I think it's okay. Even if you have 1 or 2 wins, like Ryan Blaney, if Ryan Blaney came back and ran a couple Xfinity races and won a couple, it's not really that big of a deal. even with like Chase Elliott running the Truck Series, he did grab another win at Martinsville. I didn't have an issue with that. I talked about that earlier in the year when that happened, and it's because he doesn't even have a Cup win yet, and that's only his whatever sixth or seventh total NASCAR win. If he had a fucking 100 and whatever 50 like dickhole and the 18 does, then it'd be an issue. But he doesn't, so who cares? If he wants seat time at places he's not good at, let him get his seat time. End of story.
Absolutely. And I mean, because all these Cup veterans like a Kyle Busch, like a Joey Logano, Brad Keselowski, Denny Hamlin, Kevin Harvick, so on and so forth. I can see why they would have to do it because the sponsor wants them to, the team wants them to, but the fans, they're getting tired of it. I know this has been a problem for a number of years. I mean, hell, we all remember Mark Martin dominating the Busch Series in the late '90s in the old Winn-Dixie car. Back then, people really didn't have a problem with that. Nowadays, they do.
I want to jump in there, and I think the whole thing about Mark Martin winning is Mark Martin's a hell of a lot more likable guy than Kyle Busch is. I think that really plays a role, and that's why there's some people that can be a little bit hypocritical, or they'll say something like, well, if Junior was running all these races, you wouldn't have a problem. Well, I think people would have less of a problem because Dale Jr. is a hell of a lot more likable than Kyle Busch. But as a fan of Junior and as a disliker of Cup drivers running the fucking show all the time, I mean, I would have a problem with Junior running like 15 races a year, like Kyle, or even more than that. Like Kyle would probably run the whole damn season if he really could. It's just because that's the way he is. He just wants these precious Xfinity wins and all that great seat time that he can possibly get because, he's a rookie and he needs that time behind the wheel. But I'll cut my sarcasm out of the way. Yes, I would have an issue with Junior running running all these races, but he doesn't. So
no, he only runs like I think he's only running 2 this year, and then like 5 next year after he retires from Cup.
Right. So
yeah.
But just getting back to your point, people didn't have much of a problem with it because what was to hate about Mark Martin, really?
No, nothing. More people really felt sorry for him because he never won a championship in Cup. Every week he was always labeled as the sentimental favorite.
Right. But sure,
yeah.
I can understand if if it gets old, and fans don't like repetitiveness. Kind of like Jimmy Johnson. There's a lot of people who dislike Jimmy Johnson because he wins all the time. I'll self-admittingly admit that I am kind of one of those. I don't like him. I don't like seeing him win all the goddamn time. It's annoying. It just really is. I don't deny that they're good. Damn good, actually. But
yeah,
I hate seeing it all the time. It's ridiculous. I mean, I'm having to reference F1 again. It's like Mercedes in Formula 1. I don't hate Lewis Hamilton. I just don't want to see him win all the time. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, hell, I'm happy when Valtteri Bottas wins and he drives a Mercedes, but he's only won like what, 3 races in his whole career in F1, and now that he's with the top team, he's good. It's good to see him winning now, but again, it's Mercedes at the same time, so you want to hate it, but at the same time, you feel good about it.
Well, yeah.
I mean,
but see, even though this has we're not an F1 podcast at all, it is actually a really good comparison because just like we were talking about with like Chase Elliott, like a Chase Elliott compared to Kyle Busch, that's kind of the way it is in F1 with Hamilton versus Bottas. Hamilton's won through 3 world titles, all these races, so many podiums. That's kind of like Kyle Busch in the Xfinity Series. He's won a damn championship in the series while he was a Cup driver. He's won nearly 100 races. Chase Elliott hasn't because of the, has much less experience. He's been in NASCAR much less, and he never had the completely dominant machinery that Kyle Busch clearly has. So it's just such a different spectrum. when you're comparing people.
But it's easy to compare manufacturers too, because like lately, Toyota is essentially Mercedes. That's just how dominant they've been. You know?
Yeah, that's definitely the truth there. Before we get too far off topic, the one last thing I want to say about it is I absolutely approve of NASCAR's decision to regulate it a little bit more. There's some salty people out there, and there's actually salty drivers about it too. Like, just let us race. Well, guess what? I got news for you. We don't want to see that shit. If I wanted to see you dominate a race, why don't you just dominate the Cup race?
Yeah.
I'm not saying I want to see dominance, but come on.
Yeah, and Kevin Harvick brought this up on his SiriusXM show, Happy Hours. Look, we get it. I mean, we know that most of the sponsors in Xfinity are tied to a Cup driver, like in your case, Hunt Brothers Pizza. Yeah, obviously the spot. It's all about what the sponsor wants. They want a Cup guy in the car. Well, I got news, man. All right, they're gonna have to sign. I mean, they're gonna have to sponsor a young guy who may not have much experience. But hey, as long as there's I mean, you should be fine. You should be better off if you got a Cup guy in for 7 races. All right. That's about all I can think.
Well, another point is the fact that the Xfinity Series is a developmental series used to try to get people better and try to generate drivers into the Cup Series. And now there's, of course, this other argument. Well, then how you know they might not be as good if they don't race against Cup drivers? Well, bullshit. Because first of all, you got to race against the other guys in your series, beat them. That kind of shows the Cup teams who the best of the best is in the Xfinity Series. Let them compete, let them get their wins, and they can see and make their judgments for who's the best of those guys. Just kind of like the Xfinity champions that have come up through the damn ranks the last couple of years. Daniel Suarez, he got himself a Cup ride. Chris Buescher won the championship, got himself a Cup ride. He's, starting to move up through teams, and he'll get a better ride as years comes on, hopefully. Chase Elliott, obviously, he won the Nationwide Championship, got himself a Cup ride. It's just the best of the best will get a Cup ride, and then they'll showcase their talents in Cup when you get there. They don't need to be just having all these wins taken away from them by guys that, I mean, for what purpose? Why does Kyle Busch continue to need wins in Xfinity? Not to mention, we've said this so many times, he is in the best equipment. How the fuck are you gonna beat the most winningest driver who has the most experience, who has the best equipment? How are you going to do that in a car that isn't quite up to their capabilities and with a driver that doesn't have as much experience? You can't.
Well, unless you're Brad Keselowski at Michigan, then you can just wreck him. But then back to your point of the Xfinity regulars rising through the ranks. I mean, hell, it's happening right now with William Byron. We saw how he did against a field devoid of Cup drivers at Iowa back in June, and we saw how he did against a field with some Cup drivers at Daytona, and hell, even at Indy, he beat Kyle Busch, who was expected to win and sweep the weekend. And hell, he held off Paul Menard. So, I mean, you could make the argument, that he's beating Cup drivers, and then he's not going to get better by racing against all Xfinity drivers. Well, I beg to differ. Okay, if he can do that, he should be set.
Well, yeah, and I also believe that seat time is huge around these racetracks. If you give these guys the seat time, they're going to go out there, they're going to compete against each other, they're going to race their hardest, their damnedest to win the race. They're going to get the experience of racing the racetrack. It's almost tough to really put it directly into words, but the point is they don't need to be running against the damn Cup drivers. They don't need to have the best of the best in inferior equipment kicking their ass. It has to be demoralizing. I don't give a shit if they sit there and say, oh, well, it's great racing against these guys. It gives me more experience. Well, what they really want to say is, I'm sick of this bullshit, because guess what? They're out there kicking our ass for a reason, because they're in cars that are better than us, and they have crews that are better than us. They're fucking cup crews. They bring all their top shit to beat us in our shit that is a little bit lower and not quite as good. So, fuck you, cup drivers. And that is the last thing we are saying about this, and we are moving on.
Abso-fucking-lutely.
Now it's time to hand out some awards for the Watkins Glen race weekend. And starting off with a classic boner of the week. Who is it, Kane?
All right, this week's boner of the week is Kevin Harvick for slamming Brett Moffitt on pit road under the final caution.
One outside.
Yeah, that right there is just a difficult spot for a driver to be in. You can hear his crew chief saying, go, 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 go. So you're leaving. That's your cue to leave.
And
Moffitt was waiting. He kind of balked to get into his stall because AJ Allmendinger was there.
Yeah, nice going, Kevin. You cost yourself a top 10 finish, and I don't know what to say about that.
Yeah, just a big old boner of a situation.
Yes, sir. All right, next award.
Next award is, well, here's a fucking surprise.
Oh, it is a fucking surprise.
And that goes to the Xfinity race, just as a whole, really. No surprise. Kyle Busch won, and Joey Logano started on the pole. It was just a cup field fest. It was a complete joke. That's it. That's all you need to know.
Yeah, props to Justin Allgaier for at least trying to get an Xfinity regular up there for the win, but it's nothing he could do.
Nope. Next award.
All right, next award, once again, is same old song and dance, and just like last week, this week it goes to Dale Jr.
It's the same old story, same old song and dance, my friend.
Because why else? He unloaded like shit. In practice, his car was shit. He qualified like shit. And in the race, he only made it 20 laps before the fucking valve train broke on him. And he ended up finishing dead last. Yeah, that's how much this weekend sucked. So glad it's over.
Alright, next award is Fuel Mileage My Ass. And that goes to Martin Truex Jr. And sure, I know he saved fuel. It was definitely evident. He backed his pace way off. He was 3-4 seconds off at some points. But, man, he had plenty of freaking fuel to do a burnout and drive to victory lane and all sorts of shit. It was like, man, you oversaved, honestly. You had so much damn fuel. It was ridiculous. So quit your shit. We know you had more fuel than that. Next award.
All right, our next award is hashtag Sneaky Suarez, and well, our boy Danny S, he grabbed a third place finish today, as well as his first stage win of the season. Obviously, the strategy worked out great for him, as well as the raw power that the Toyotas had this weekend. It paid off, and Suarez himself got himself a career best finish, and I'm sure that's not going to be all out of him. I think we'll be seeing him in victory lane sometime this season. All right, and then the next award is the first cigar award, and that goes to NBC Sports Network for having decent coverage of both the Xfinity and Cup races this weekend, with a big part of that being MRN's Mike Bagley chiming in from the S's. I swear that the race immediately sounded much better with Bagman calling the race from his spot, as well as Parker Kligerman in turns in the bus stop and in the carousel, and Jeff Burton in turns 6 and 7. And something else. Oh yeah, Rick Allen wasn't there. That alone made the race better. I mean, I'll admit I'm not a big fan of Lee Diffie, but I'm sorry, anybody that's not named Rick Allen is immediately better. And I'm sorry, it's true.
Lee Diffie might not give you a stiffy, but is certainly a lot more spiffy than Rick Allen.
Absolutely. So, cigar award to the NBC Sports folks. You finally did something right this year. Congratulations. Next award.
Well, we actually have another cigar to hand out, and that goes to our very own Thermite917, who is not with us here, but he is accepting the award in spirit. And he gets the cigar for not watching the race live, and he got to skip through it once he got home from his cornucopia Field of Dreams fucking family reunion. So he got to skip the race pretty much, and that's great because he really didn't miss a ton. And especially being able to skip through that whole first stage, my lord, what I wouldn't give to skip through that. That was terrible. So he got lucky, and cigar for him for that, even though that was not his choice. So good job, Nick. We miss you. Not really. You suck. Next award.
All right, and once again, our last award, it's the crying towel. And once again, guess who it goes to? Here, look at the tweet. Oh, Kyle! You just fucking admit it already, dude. You didn't have a plan because you ruined your own plan. I'm sure Brad didn't mean to wreck you on purpose. Oh, no. I know you just want to bait him into saying it was his fault because nothing's ever your fault. Oh, I'm Kyle Busch. It's never my fault. Oh my goodness. Come on, I understand you gotta win every Xfinity race just to make yourself look like Mr. Perfect. But god damn it, Kyle. This is Cup. This is where you're supposed to win. So what if you didn't win? Alright, it's not all Brad's fault. Yeah, your strategy got ruined, but it was also part of your fault, too! And that's not even the worst thing you've done this week! Tyler, what else did he do?
Oh my god, I'm in tears because of this, and that's because, Kyle, you threatened to shut down KBM if NASCAR eventually takes away all your privileges to run in the Truck Series. You said if I can't race in the Truck Series, then what's the point of having KBM? Oh, I don't know. Maybe the developments to. Oh my God, you're making me screw up, Kyle. Kyle, you slut. Maybe you could develop some younger drivers to, beat you and compete against you in the Cup Series, and maybe they'll give themselves careers, but oh no, that'd be too much for you, Kyle, right? Because you don't want any competition. You don't want anybody to have a good life or career or anything, don't you? You big crybaby.
You salty sticker son of a bitch! Just because NASCAR might eventually take away your truck rights, it means Christopher Bell can't have a job anymore! Or Noah Gregson! Oh my god, Kyle!
Kyle! Oh my god, what would you do if you got kicked out of Xfinity? You'd probably commit suicide!
Or worse yet, Samantha might leave him! Because he's not gonna bring in money anymore!
Oh my god. What a travesty. Big fat whiny baby! You get 2 crying towels this week! 2!
Oh my god, that was good. Actually worked out better than I thought.
Don't make me pull out the angry towel too. God damn it, Kyle!
Yeah. God damn it, Kyle!
Now it's time to take a look at the best paint schemes of the week, so enjoy the quick montage. Now we do have a worst paint scheme of the week, and conveniently, for the second week in a row, it goes to Casey Kane in his Road to Race Day Chevrolet, the black and red little ensemble weirdness. Just stop it. God damn it. This car pisses me off. Chime in, Alex. Tell me what you think. Does it make you angry?
It does make me angry. I mean, just looking at the car, it evokes anger. The red and the black, it makes you think you're in hell.
Oh, well, let me say this. I do kind of like the logo on the hood. I think it looks pretty cool, but it is misplaced and just awkward. And the paint scheme itself is lame. Again, it just has like a splatter. Like it's black, then a red splat and red down the side of the car, and then another red splat, and then more black on the back. All real amazing and thought-provoking. I mean, for Christ's sake, these colors and the splats make me think of Red Dead Redemption, which is a video game, great video game. That game is based in the Old West and involves shooting. I'd like to grab a gun or two from that game and shoot the fuck out of this car. I don't like it. Come on. But it's another classic example of Hendrick poor designing. Again, ficus. Ficus!
Ficus! And besides, who's even gonna watch Road to Race Day anyways? Especially us Junior fans. I mean, I'd much rather not have to relive the nightmare that was Junior's concussion last year. Thank you very much.
I don't want to watch any damn videos. Keep your social media bullshit to just keep it on social media and keep it away. I don't know why you're putting on a race car. Just basically saying that you didn't have sponsorship for this weekend. Rated red!
Rated red!
Ugh.
Yeah.
We're pissing on your ficus. I hate this car. Moving on. Alright, now it's time for fantasy. And we're going to quickly recap the Watkins Glen. And Kane comes home with the victory after picking Kyle Busch, who accrued him 42 points. Kyle came home in the 7th position. I come home in 2nd after picking AJ Allmendinger, and AJ got me 32 points. Nick came in 3rd after picking Kevin Harvick, who got him 20 points. And Damani, oh my god, he took a shot in the dark, and unfortunately it did not pay off for him. What could have been just an average day or whatever turned into hell because Junior had finished dead last and got him only 1 point. And that calls for a quick points update, and the points are even crazier now. Kane has taken the lead for the first time this season. He now has 671 points, and the amazing part is me and Nick are now tied at 668. So we are only 3 points back after 22 races, several different bonus point opportunities. 3 of us are separated by just 3 points. That's insane. And then Damani, well, he's way back, but we don't even need to mention him anymore. We'll just wait till the chase and he'll get caught back up and then he'll be relevant again. So we're going to go ahead and make our picks for Michigan. And Damani, since he's late, his pick will have to be dropped and he'll go to the rear once again. Nick, I'll make his selection for him, and he's going to go with Martin Truex Jr. Very solid pick. Obviously, he's at a ton of speed, so he's got a good shot at some real good points next week. I'm going to go ahead and make mine, and now I'm going to pick the last winner there, Kyle Larson. Why not? It's a great pick. And even though they've struggled a little bit lately, they've had some bad luck, but I still believe their speed is absolutely there, and they're very strong on the 2-mile track. So Kyle Larson is going to get it done once again, complete the Michigan sweep. So Kane, who are you going with?
All right, I am going with the guy who won this race 2 years ago. He almost won today at Watkins Glen had it not been for Martin Truex Jr. That's right, I am going with Matt Kenseth.
You're fucking high!
The JGR and the Toyotas have really come on strong as of late, and I think that momentum is going to continue into the Motor City, where they're the most hated team in NASCAR because they're not from Detroit. But I think they're going to spoil the party on next Sunday, and Matt Kenseth I think is going to win Michigan.
This guy kidding? This is pathetic. about time.
Hey, it is about time.
Well, that wraps up yet again another episode of Behind the Wall, presented by Perky Jerky. We appreciate you for listening if you did. So for Thermite 917, he was not here. The first episode he missed. That son of a bitch. For Damani HD.
Damn it, Nick!
God damn it, Nick Lemack. Fucking Nick Lemack. For Damani HD, rest in peace, buddy. We'll miss you forever. For Kane Jr. 88, and for myself, Junior Nation 5788, this has been Behind the Wall. You've been Behind the Wall, and thank you for listening. I mean,
All right. I mean,
it,
That's your holy hell!